The Drow. The Drow, also known as Dark Elves, are chaotic, evil elves with skin like polished obsidian. Shorter and more slender than humans, they have pale eyes, stark white hair, and finely chiseled features. Drow move silently and have superior infravision, but are adversely affected by any sort of bright light. All Dark Elves train in magic and have high magic resistance. They can cast dancing lights, fairy fire, and darkness once per day. More powerful Drow can also cast levitate, know alignment, and detect magic. Priests and priestesses have additional granted powers as well. Driders are monstrous creatures with the head and torso of a drow and the legs and lower body of a giant spider. Lolth, the Spider Queen, creates Driders from drow who fail their goddess test. Outcast from their communities, Driders are usually found alone or in the company of giant spiders on the edge of drow civilization. The drow once lived in the lands of light alongside their fairer kindred. More than 13,000 years ago, the crown wars raged among the fair folk. For 3,000 years, the elven nations of Avendar, Miritar, Chantel, Aether, Canterbury, and several other ones I can't pronounce, and others battled one another in a series of 5 great conflicts. At the end of the Fourth Crown War, circa 10,000 DR, the corrupt dark elven Eletri and others were transformed by Corellian's magic into drow as directed through the Protector's priest and high mages, and banished to the lightless depths of the Underdark. The first drow civilization rose in the Underdark in southern Faerun circa 9600 DR. The first great kingdom of the drow was Telantiwar, with its great capital in the great cavern of Bahadrin, the conquered heart of the first great kingdom of the Stout Folk, which was seized by the drow in 9000 DR. The drow fought amongst themselves, noble against noble, priest against priest, for rule of their new realm. This war ended amid great magical explosions that brought down the roof of Bahadrin. The ceiling collapsed entirely, burying many drow in the shattered dwarven cities they had seized. The cavern, now open to the sky, became known as the Great Rift. Gold dwarf ancestors later resettled the chasm and surrounding caverns to form the Deep Realm. The following diaspora, known as the Scattering, the surviving drow nobles and priests gathered what people, slaves, and equipment they could seize and fled into the Underdark. Since that time, countless cities and smaller settlements have risen and fallen in an increasing radius around the territory held by the Empire of Telantiwar. Drow are now found throughout the upper and middle Underdark of all of Faerun and beyond. Dark elven cities are typically located in regions with strong magnetic forces, where the rock gives off radiation akin to magical energy known as Fadris. The Drow are particularly strong in the Moonsea, north and west of the Izakar Range, from beneath Calcium all the way up to Icewind Dale, but their pervasive influence is felt throughout the Underdark, and few races challenge the Dark Elf's subterranean mastery. Due to the dogma of Lolth, the Spider Queen, most drow cities are theocratic matriarch, dominated by the clergy of one of the handful of dark powers venerated by dark elves. In cities that follow the way of Lolth, the dark elven populace is typically ruled by several dozen noble houses ranked in strict hierarchy. A small group of elite noble houses form the ruling council, led by the premier high priestess of the first house. Each noble house is turned and ruled by a courtier of high priestesses related and ranked in preeminence, with the highest ranking priestess of each noble house bearing the title of matron mother. A constant, intense, treacherous, and deadly competition seethes among the various noble houses, mirrored by the constant struggle among individual priestesses to increase relative station. These battles follow rules of behavior best characterized as, if it cannot be proven, then it did not happen. The war among drow nobility allows other groups to also achieve some power and influence. Drow wizards, who are usually male, often ally with a noble house. Merchant trading companies receive noble backing. Mercenaries sell their blades, all shifting the balance of power. In a drow city, where other powers check Lolth's priestesses, they may even assume rule of the city. But the constant struggle for a station does not stop. In cities where Lolth's worship is unknown or marginal, different power structures emerge. But these two are festering pools of intrigue and treachery. The only absolute appears to be that if more than one divine power is openly venerated, civil war and societal collapse are inevitable. The premier goddess of the Drow is Lolth the Spider Queen, goddess of spiders, evil, darkness, chaos, and assassins. Other powerful deities, including Guenhwyvar the Elder Eye, the god of ooze, slimes, jellies, outcasts, ropers, rebels, and all things subterranean. The Vaharan, the Mask Lord, the god of thievery, drow males, territory, and evil activity on the surface world. Lesser powers include Karansali, the Reverencer, goddess of the undead and vengeance, and Selvtarm, the champion of Lolth, god of drow warriors. Finally, although she is rarely venerated in the Underdark, Elistri, the Dark Maiden, is the good-aligned goddess of song, beauty, swordwork, hunting, and moonlight, who seeks to redeem the Drow and lead them back to the lands of light. Drow wizards and priests are known throughout the Underdark and surface world for mass-producing unusual weapons and clothing with quasi-magical properties. Such properties are particularly the result of exposure to the fair dress, a powerful and strange radiation found only in the Underdark. Drow society live and die by the proximity of fair dress to their cities. Though the enchantments fade in the sunlight, they are terrors in the Underdark. Aside from the items, Drow spellcasters can also develop countless new spells. Many are even adopted by other wizard schools and clergies of other faiths. Drow cities are similar to surface cities in that they are laid out horizontally and consist of buildings clustered into districts, intertwined with wide avenues, narrow alleys, and plazas. They differ in the absence of wood, although petrified mushroom stalks are often serve the same purpose. The use of modified cave structures instead of freestanding buildings, and the general lack of ramps and stairs within many upper-class habitations. Elite Drow usually have quasi-magical clothing that allows them to levitate. Drow architecture betrays ancient elven origins in its artistry. Dark elves favor soaring, sculpted structures whose strength stems as much from magic as a natural strength of the stone. Drow cities are notable for their intricate spiral tunnels, bodily flying stone bridges, balconies, and buttresses. Dark elven engineers hollow out and shape stalactites, stalagmites, and cave columns for habitation. Rock is always cut and shaped, never left unworked. Drow city environs are a maze of well-patrolled tunnels that serve both as a training ground for Drow warriors and a defensive fortification as they fall back through a warren of deceptions and traps. The most obvious sign of the Drow activity outside the city proper include guarded caverns where quasi-magical items are fabricated, heavily warded channels throughout which water is diverted to the city, worked by dwarven and dark gnome slaves and overseen by dark elf taskmasters. Often a small region of caverns and tunnels is given over to dried or outcasts and used as a means of dispensing of prisoners unsuitable for sacrifice. While fungi fields and herds of Roth are typically kept within each city's central cavern, some Drow caverns are too small and are forced to locate their food supplies outside the city. Further afield, Drow patrols are infrequent but regular, as dark elves are the great merchants of the Underdark. The various merchant consortiums are a regular presence along established trade routes of the realm below. Giant subterranean lizards act as beasts of burden, with Drow warriors mounted on riding lizards as outriders. Dark elves extend their own caste and gender-based prejudices to other races as well, while the Dark elves willingly trade with nearly any race, even good-aligned races such as dwarves and dark gnomes. If a willingness to trade is reciprocated, the Dark elves consider themselves inherently superior and will destroy their trading partners without compunction. Dark elves reserve their greatest hatred for their surface kin and even conduct surface raids expressly for the purpose of killing and enslaving elves. Because many other races loathe the Drow, the Dark elves are never without potential enemies.